Warning: the following podcast contains violent scenes that may be unsettling to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. The Illyrius Empire spans a continent. Thousands of miles of dry plains, highlands, and dust-swept roads, all under the eye of a single ruler. Its power comes not from gold or armies alone, but from the land itself. The Havana River runs like a lifeline through the heart of the empire, feeding crops, shaping cities, and sustaining millions. Without it, there is no empire, only dust and memory. At its center stands Nahivian, the imperial capital, a city of marble, trade, and ambition. Its streets are alive with voices from every corner of the realm, and its silence hides more than it reveals. This is a story of politics, power, and people caught in between. Welcome to Revelations of Khayee, an Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition campaign. So the next morning, you all are at the Winter Gate, and you have 4 beautiful horses that are there waiting for you, that are being handled at the moment by gate guards from the Crimson Harvest. The horses are all of similar color, but they're this sand tan like color that matches silted river sand. And you can tell, those of you familiar with horses and animals, that these are well-bred beasts that probably are usually pretty expensive for those who own horses. You, Yangi, recognize them as probably coming from breeders that provide horses for the Crimson Harvest. You all start your journey initially out of the Winter Gate, where at first you go through a cobblestone road that goes through fields of wheat that are just starting to sprout. You can smell the smells of manure and rich soil, and honestly, the fresh breeze that after 10 miles of going down this road is a welcome relief compared to the flood of different scents and smells that you have to deal with in the city. The one thing that probably strikes some of you first is the absolute silence compared to the city. You hear the wind gently make its way through the short stalks of wheat. You occasionally hear the sounds of birds that are chirping, see flocks of birds flying overhead, clear skies with an occasional puffy white cloud are above you. The temperatures, that perfect temperature between the rainy season and the dry heat that can hit the kingdom. You occasionally see young children running amongst the crops, or people with water buffaloes and plows that are plowing certain areas of the fields that stop and look at you for as you guys are going north. Occasionally between these fields of harvest, you have grasslands that you go through, but it's all relatively flat for the first 2 days of your travel. We'll have a scene here at the second night where you all are around a campfire after 2 days of travel. Yangi, you notice something interesting about Amal's wardrobe. Amal, would you care to share with him what he may find interesting about your wardrobe?
Of course, yeah. After a couple days of traveling and getting to know one another, the stories might, kind of lead to the realization that the cloth that he uses to tie his weapons to his waist, right, seems to be made of like a deep crimson red, right? It looks like a piece of a Crimson Harvest soldier's cloak, right, has been ripped off and repurposed, right, as a belt.
I suppose Yanni would bring it up at a campfire during one of those evenings. It's just, Amal, were you part of the Crimson Harvest?
No, no, Youngie, though I appreciate the sentiment.
Don't. How did you? And he points to the cloth.
He looks down. Oh, uh, my father.
I see. We do seem to have something in common then, Amal.
I would agree. Right. Your
Indeed.
story seemed very familiar. Or not necessarily your story, but the story your face told, I should say.
What do you think of the Crimson Harvest?
Hmm. That's a harder question. I feel with every entity within the Empire, there is both good and bad.
Hmm.
Sometimes.
Interesting answer. Go ahead.
Oh, if that's the answer you'll accept, that's where I'll leave it.
No, 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 no. Please, go ahead.
In my experience, the bad outweighs the good.
I see. Well, at a certain point in time, I wished to join them very much. I saw in them my future, power, security, but things were meant to be different.
You seem like a good man, Yangi. I mean, I've only traveled with you for a couple days, and I
Amal, there are very, very few good men.
we can agree on that. Um, I commend your desire, your drive. I just hope that you can be the change. That you would put like a hand on your shoulder.
Cedric and Bazi, what does it make you feel when you hear this conversation happening? I'll have you go first, Cedric. And by the way, I find it's funny that one neutral evil guy goes to the other neutral evil guy. You seem like a good guy. You know what I mean?
Is Amal also neutral evil?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You guys are
Oh
the
my
two
God, that is hilarious.
of the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
That
All
is
right,
great.
Cedric, what does your character think hearing this?
So Cedric knows Amal, and he knows that Amal is, as far as Cedric knows, Amal is outgoing and friendly. So this is that normal banter, and it's rather calming to Cedric to hear just Amal's voice and having it, having it being said to someone else versus him, as he's intently, he's paying attention to the conversation. But I would think that Cedric is right now, as we're kind of sitting here, he's like reading his book, and he's intent in there, and there's this comfort of being around Amal, and he's like, okay, now, but he's also pointing out that that there are now ties between Yang Yi and Amal through this Crimson Harvest, that there are invisible bonds, especially the way that Yang Yi is, he's answering the questions, but he's kind of like not answering them at the same time.
He's guarded,
Yes.
very much so. Okay, and Bazi, what does Bazi thinks just from hearing this conversation?
Bozzy thinks that these city folk with their cushy lives need to chill out and enjoy the fact that they're in nature under the stars.
Very good. Now, I believe at this stage would probably be a good time the next morning for you all to see about hunting. I know you guys said you wanted to look into hunting, right? Now, who here has the skills to hunt and trap?
Yangi has proficiency in hunting.
Okay.
Amal has the ability to set snares, the proficiency.
Okay, so all right, we'll say it's not difficult. We'll say you actually both of you are able to hunt and you find a deer, which is an indicator that you are slowly getting closer to wilderness, meaning land that's not cultivated, to be able to catch a deer this far. And you've had venison before, but it's usually brought in by vendors, but you're able to catch a deer together. Now, how would you say you two, before we continue on, and I know this sounds like an odd question, but just curious, how do you two envision that you guys work together to accomplish this? Meaning, like, were you guys in sync? Did it just come naturally that you two worked together? Was there any annoyance to it, or what was it like with you two hunting together?
Look, when it comes to getting food, Yangi is everyone's friend, and he's willing to, do pretty much everything. So he just, I assume Amal would be sort of like in a spotter role, and Yangi would be there with his short bow,
And you
ready for
got
the kill shot.
and you got a clean shot. Now,
Yeah.
you mentioned before that Yang Yi deals with hunger quite often, right?
Yeah.
Having a bountiful hunt like this, being successful, what would a mall see on your face and in your behavior from you being able to score a buck, a rather large deer like this?
I think as soon as the arrow went through, probably like let's say straight through the heart, perfect shot. And as soon as the deer falls, you can see Yangi running there with his knife, ready to dress the deer, ready to carve it up, immediately eat the warm liver, you know,
Just
and
ravishes it.
yeah, exactly, just covered in blood, everything, just like chewing on it, scarfing it down. He might actually, cut a part off and give them all a piece.
Amal would graciously like accept, right? He would probably share in that excitement with you. I imagine Amal being able to like set snares and stuff. He's mostly probably caught like small rabbits, small vermin, etc., right? To stave off that hunger,
Yeah.
right? This excitement of you taking down such a large animal in such an unknown territory, right, is probably this seed for this incredible excitement to share between one another.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great victory, essentially. You don't have to use your rations. You have fresh meat, which is incredibly rare, let's be
Yeah.
honest
Yeah,
here,
especially in the city. Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah.
Where you could get fresh meat technically through a wet market or something like
Yeah.
that, but still it's nothing compared to this.
Yeah, exactly. Bozzy, what do you feel when you see them coming and dragging the carcass of the buck back?
Bozzy sees it as just another part of nature, people hunting to get food, much as a wolf would hunt to get food. He'll nod with approval and start looking around the area near the campsite to see if there's any various herbs that he could use to help flavor it as it cooks.
Yeah, you're able to find like herbs and wild onions, right? And stuff like that. Because now you're kind of like I said before, you're getting to the uncultivated land where it's more like grasslands, you know? And I'll explain further on as you guys go, but you're kind of like almost on that transition, right? Between the cultivated lands to a little bit of a wilderness there. So we'll say that that evening you guys feast pretty good, right? You're able to dry out some strips of it too. You are able to utilize a lot of it. I would even say, I don't know, Bozzy, if Bozzy would want to keep the skins or if anyone would want to keep the skins of the buck for future use, whatever it may be. But we'll say it was a very glorious night and that you guys rested well. So you guys travel for 2 more days. These last 2 days are different than the first 2 days. It's because the land slowly starts changing. It becomes grasslands with hills, occasional streams that cut its way across. Sometimes you come across rock outcroppings where you see birds or bushes growing between the cracks of these rocks. They stick out like teeth from the gums of the earth, and you continue your way north. Eventually, you see off in the distance, looks like some structures. It's hard to make out. It's about 300 yards, 400 yards until you get there. What are you all doing? Continuing to go on, or what do you guys choose to do once you guys notice what you believe, Cedric, from looking on your map, is the village?
Cedric would turn to Amal and notify him we're getting close. That's our destination up there. And he would turn to Bozzy and Yang Yi and be, we're getting close to our destination. I will yield to how you wish to approach this.
Bozzy, can I get a wisdom roll, please?
Definitely a success.
As Cedric is talking, you look up towards you look straight ahead as the ground slightly rises towards the structures, and you look in the sky above, and you see shapes circling in the air, and you squint your eyes, and you recognize immediately that they are carrion birds, vultures. And you know what that usually means when those birds are flying above like that. Go ahead, scene's on you guys.
At, at seeing the birds, Bozzy will hop off his horse, start strapping on his armor, and grab his spear and his sling.
You all see Bozzy doing that. Now, real quick, Bozzy, before we continue on with the scene, describe a little bit what this armor looks like and kind of like the spear and everything, just to give us a feeling of what he looks like with this on.
Bozzy is wearing or donning studded leather armor. It's been patched here and there. Fairly quality work, but it looks like it may have been field repaired a few times. The studs are just basic little brass studs, nothing fancy. The armor is well worn. His spear, simple wooden shaft with a bronze tip, and he's got a sling that he takes out, inspects, make sure it's in good condition before he tucks it back into his belt. And he as he's getting all this armor on, he has no helmet, but he does have, bracers, chest piece, shoulder pieces. I don't know the technical names. And then he throws up just a cloth hood, making sure that everything's in place, pulls the hood back down, and then he looks at the rest, points to the birds. They're there for the corpses. Something bad happened here. Get ready.
So, with him saying that, what do you all do? Yangi first, what do you do?
Well, honestly, I think Yang was probably already traveling in his armor.
All right.
Uh,
What does he
it's
explain to
it's
us
the
what he
same
looks?
studded leather armor as Bazi has, but I assume his was a gift from Danima. Essentially, is like necessary for the job. He's armed with a longsword, which he trained with all his life. I would say that the longsword is probably like an heirloom from his adoptive family.
Okay. Okay. There's a history behind it.
There might be, but he doesn't know it.
Oh, okay.
It-
Awesome.
yeah. And he also has a shield.
All right.
And I'd say he has the longsword and everything else like stored on the sword on his belt,
Hmm.
the shield on his back, and he would be approaching with a short bow first, right?
Yeah. Does this shield have
Yeah.
any symbols on there? Or would you say that,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
I would say an empty circle.
an empty circle? Okay.
Yeah.
All
Very
right.
simple, very clean.
Okay. Awesome. And then, Cedric, how do you respond to what Bozzy says?
Once Sadric starts seeing that people are starting to get ready, he's going through his robes and he's adjusting he's just kind of doing this mental calculation as he's touching his spell components, and he's and then looking up and like just being just mentally preparing, because again he really has no idea what's going on,
Yeah.
because he is a fish out of water at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, and all these guys, they don't know about magic. They don't know what magic is. They just think you're some book nerd. You know what I mean? For lack of a better term,
Hmm.
right? Like a scholar, right? And Amal, last but not least, what are you doing at the moment?
Mo would be readying his bow, right? His bow is kind of made up of two like bull horns that have been fashioned to a short bow. He would stay on his horse, but he would lead it a little bit backwards, right? As seeing the other two don armor and start to go forwards this, right? In his mind, he knows that if something did occur here, and if something was still waiting, they would wait until everyone moved forward, right? And then attack from behind. So he's kind of covering what might happen should somebody walk in.
So am I assuming then that Yang Yi and Bazi are walking forward and Cedric and Amal are kind of like staying with their horses as they look forward, or what's the plan with you guys?
About how far are we from the village?
About, I'd say 300 yards.
Yeah, Bozzy's going to tie his horse off and then approach on foot, trying to keep to some cover as best he can.
Okay. And Yang Yi?
Yang is gonna follow the more experienced Bazi.
Okay. Cedric?
Daedric will be at the rear of will be towards the back, and he's looking for a mall for he's watching a mall to see if he's going to give him any guidance.
All right. And Amal, are you going to stay on your horse or what are you going to do?
Yeah, I would stay on my horse, but as they're approaching, I would kind of take a flank, right? And as Cedric kind of looks for guidance, I would kind of usher him to take the opposite flank, as Yang and Bazi are going up the center, right? Having
Yeah.
the two on the side, right? Watching the wings.
Okay.
Uh,
The left flank and the right flank
yep.
on your horses?
I would be on my horse. I don't know about Cedric.
Probably want to stay on this horse, I would assume, right, Cedric?
Yeah,
Best way to run.
Cedric will stay on his horse.
So you guys kind of keep a slower pace as Bazi and Yangi are making their way through the grass. The horses are tied off at a random tree. Those trees are kind of middle of grasslands like that are just like by themselves almost. And they tie their horses there and they slowly make their way through the tall grass. The wind is breezing through them. You can feel the stalks of these wild grass brushing against your hands as you guys are brushing them aside, making your way forward. Bazi and Yonggi, you can feel your heart rate almost go up as you guys are trying to creep through without being seen. You hear the grass go against the leather of your armor as it swishes by. Almost feel like you're predators as you kind of go further into the grass. You go about 100 yards as Amal and Cedric, you guys kind of flank. You're still not seeing anything. You're looking intently, feeling the adrenaline starting to course through your veins. Then you guys go another 100 yards this way. Still don't see anything as of now. When you're 50 yards out, you can start hearing the sound of the birds, the vultures that are above, as they shoot down and then come back up. And you can see there are some huts, about 5 huts, that look like they have been burnt. There's remnants of them that are there, but it looks like the fires happened a while ago because there's no smoke. But you can see the black soot and ashes. You can see that the vultures are starting to fall down a bulky shape that's in the middle of these 5 huts. You can see that there are untended gardens that are between you and the huts. And from there, you can see it looks like the center was a beaten down area where maybe people gathered, or maybe the people who lived in these huts ate together. The huts themselves are rather large. It looks like they could have fit 2 or 3 families in there. They wanted to. And eventually you see what the vultures are feasting on are 2 dead cattle, 2 dead milk cows that are on the side there. As you guys slowly make your way to the back of one of the huts. As you guys get to the one of the huts, you're like at the back of the huts, right? So the doors are facing the door away from you. What are you doing once you get there, Bazi?
Can Bozzy determine from the overgrowth on the gardens about how long it's been since someone last tended them?
Ooh, very good. Yes, I would say about 2 weeks.
Okay. All right. He will. Are there windows on any of these huts?
They've been burnt, so like they're like frames of them and everything, but they're not like held together. So you can kind of see through them, if they look like they might have had straw roofs or, normal lumber, but what's standing is very fragile at this point.
Okay. Yeah, he will. He'll start picking his way into the nearest hut, using the butt end of his spear to try to like lift debris out of the way, checking to see if there's like bones or charred remains in there.
Yangi, what are you doing?
Yangi's trying to see if there's like anything suspicious or
Hmm.
basically checking for traps. That's how I put it.
Yeah, while Bozzy is looking through the rubbish of the hut that's in front of you, you walk around to like the center of this little village, and you see the 2 dead carcasses of the milk cows that are being feasted upon. It looks like they died of starvation or they died of malnourishment, and that they made their way back to this village. Maybe they're out in the wild grass feeding. They made their way back here and they ended up dying. But you see that there is blood that mixed with the soil and left like a dark stain, because the center of this village is like dusty from all the work that had been done. The grass there has that dust that kind of kicks up when people walk on there. But a lot of it's been matted down because there's massive amounts of blood, it looked like, that fell in that area there. That's what you see. Okay, Cedric and Amal, you guys see them make their way to the center of this little village here. What are you doing?
Amola's kind of keeping the perimeter as well, still, even throughout the silence or the cause of the birds. He would be looking for any disturbances outside of this area, right? So like
Mhm.
anything that may have come into this village from outside, right? Everything has been overgrown, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But like if a small force or a small army goes through, there's kind of telltale signs of like things being knocked over, long grass being stomped down, stuff like that. It
It's
doesn't have
funny.
tracking, but like telltale signs.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because as you see Yangi's looking at the blood on that's in the middle of this little makeshift village. You see further north and you're on your horse and you look beyond and you see that looks like from that dust that stuff had been dragged, and you see splatters of that blood, and you looking straight and you see that there's a path, look like a bunch of stuff was dragged through tall grass north, and it kind of makes its way up, like up to a hill where you can't see beyond the hill, like 100 yards. And when you're looking, you see a figure standing like on the brim of the horizon there. And it's hard to make it out because like the sun is in your eyes because the sun is starting to go down a little bit. towards the west, or excuse me, starting to go down a little bit. So it's kind of like over you a little bit. It's kind of hard to make out, but it looks like a silhouette of maybe it could be like a girl, like a little girl or a child or something like that, but you can't see great detail at the moment. And Cedric, what are you doing?
Much like what Amal is doing, is Daedric is taking in the surrounding area, but he's doing it in a very methodical way. So he's looking at one area and just going over, scanning it almost back and forth, looking as the grass moves to see if there's anything that is reflecting, or if there's just signs that something is
Wrong. Looking for any kind of disturbances or anything like
yes.
that, which at the time you're not quite seeing. So you all have seen what you've seen. Go ahead. Scene's on you.
Amal, like as he's seen this site, he would kind of look around, each one of you, and if there's no like immediate danger, right, he'd kind of take a collective whistle, like almost like just to get people's attention.
You all hear this sharp whistle cut through the concentration that you have currently on what you're doing.
Ozzy will look up towards the sound.
When he would probably lock eyes with Bozzy, right? Bozzy look over to Cedric as well. I'm not sure if he could see Yangi, but he kind of glanced the room. But the moment he makes eye contact with you, Bozzy, he would have a point, like a gesture towards this thing that he saw, this silhouette. He wouldn't make it abhorrently obvious, but he would definitely try to gesture. There's something out that way. Wouldn't speak though.
You see that, Cedric, and Yangi, you see like what he's doing pointing to the horizon there.
All right.
Bozzy will look where it's indicated and see if he can spot the same thing.
Yep, you all see off in the distance a figure there that looks like it could be a little child, and then you see it quickly turn and like go down the other side of the hill.
If being the only two people on the horse, I would kind of look over at Cedric. Cedric, if you don't show like any signs of action, Amal would definitely take off. But if you do, he would let you go.
Oh my God, dude. The neutral evil comes out. I love this. Yeah, go get him, Bookworm. You got this. I got your back, way back here. Cedric.
I would say that Cedric is not one to rush into anything crazy like that, but seeing that there something happened here and that is odd, it is piquing Cedric's curiosity, and he'll begin to goad his horse in that direction, and just slow, not go off at like a full run, but a slow trot towards the hill, just to Satric has to know.
You make a slow trot to this hill, and you eventually get to the top of it. And when you look down on the hill, look down, you see that there's a valley there. And along the far edge of the valley, further north across from you, this valley is probably like 50 yards in, diameter kind of. You see that there is like a rock outcropping, and you see that there looks like that there's an entrance there, and you see that figure go into the rock outcropping. Hey, thanks for listening. Producing this podcast takes time, energy, and real cost, from hosting fees to editing and artwork. If you enjoy what we do and want to help us keep creating, consider supporting us on Patreon. Even a small pledge makes a big difference in covering expenses and letting us focus on bringing you more stories, more episodes, and better quality. You can find the link in the show notes. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Also, feel free to join our Discord, which is also listed in the show notes.